Welcome to Also Consider This, the podcast where we value nuance, perspective, and knowledge so that we can all be.
Also clever thinkers.
My name is Alastair, and I proclaim to be the second most famous Alastair on the podcasting scene.
And my name is Feng.
Yeah. So before I start, I would like to announce our weekly schedule because normally we record it on Tuesdays, right? And with edits and stuff, we have been publishing on Fridays previously, but the timing is pretty tight. So now I aim to publish by Monday morning so that we can be with you for the rest of the following week. Because we have done this for a few weeks, we're learning. So we're also getting into the groove of things, the rhythm of things. Recording and editing and things like that does affect other areas of our lives and our responsibilities. So while we aim to serve you guys further, we're setting a new schedule and see how it works, right? So how was your past week? Do you catch the F1 on the telly?
I didn't really follow this season because
Why? Because your team is the one that's winning right now.
no, my team is
McLaren, what?
No, my team is not even McLaren. My team is Ferrari.
Oh yeah.
So like,
Just that you can. Now it's a bit of a taboo to tell people that you are a Ferrari fan because it's like you always wonder why Ferrari can win in the first place.
well, I'm more of a driver, so it's like I kind of look up for drivers rather than the teams really. So it's like if the Ferrari is not winning, I tend to look out for Williams because like the two guys are quite likable.
Okay.
Albono and Sainz. So it's like, yeah.
You're a Charles Leclerc fan because like all the girls he's swai, right? Because he's very good looking, is it?
Not really. I kind of like him after I think the story for him, because of his godfather, like Jules Bianchi, then he got into Ferrari, and like there's a whole story of him. Go and watch first season of Drive to Survive to get to know more of his backstory.
Although most of it is not facts. It's
Yeah.
not factual. So, Drive to Survive is...
Yeah. But the backstory, they did give quite a good backstory to...
Okay, that part is factual.
Yeah.
More or less.
Like his how his whole journey into F1 seems quite interesting. And then like you kind of want to root for him to like at least get a world championship before he
doesn't get the chance to do it at all.
Yeah.
Well, I honestly I've been on and off, and then this weekend I sort of got back into it, and then the problem with getting back into it is that your social media feed will follow you. So previously all my follows for F1 and all that, they've sort of gone quiet. The accounts that pop up on my feed sort of gone quiet, and because I started getting back into it again, I started engaging with the posts by the teams again, and all the things that I didn't like that I remember I didn't like just reappeared again. So all the negative stuff, all the crying emojis, all the cheap shots that people take in the comment section are back again, which I really don't like. So like McLaren just won the World Constructors title this weekend,
which is like I think the earliest a team has ever won it, I guess.
All the comments are just there basically screaming about why you mistreat Oscar Piastri. Where's Oscar Piastri in the post? Your last 10 posts, though.
But the fact remains is that I know like Piastri they kind of like they showed like, oh, PS3 was like mistreated because he wasn't at the celebrations with the constructors trophy, but actually Lando wasn't there also.
To be fair, he wasn't a happy fella at the end of it. The first corner move that sort of shoved him sideways. Yes, I do appreciate like that particular move was not it was not nice to live with, especially when it's coming from a teammate. But objectively, I feel that like this is just racing and you got to get on with it. Just because, and I feel that in a lot of cases in F1, when the driver complains a lot, then it starts to polarize the fan base. So fans will either get behind the driver and say that he's justified in his complaints, or everyone will just put crying emojis against it.
So is it like it's back to the whole idea where it's like, if you are leading the World Drivers' Championship, you're bound to get flagged because like you're unlikable.
Well, basically, if you are the main story of the day, someone's gonna like you, somebody's gonna not like you.
Yeah lah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, the not liking you part, I would say that, for example, George Russell is actually, if you think about, to me, looking at his social medias, looking at all his past interviews and all that, I think he's quite a likable character. I think he's pretty interesting in a way, like using a PowerPoint presentation to get himself a driver's seat.
I would argue that the Twitch quartet is quite likable. The four of them.
The Twitch quartet being
Albon, Alexander Albon, Charles Leclerc, George Russell, and Lando Norris. They kind of got that whole name because of COVID and
the COVID Twitch quartet, right?
Yeah.
So I feel that it's actually the racing part is actually quite interesting to watch. It's quite fun to follow. However, like all sports, social media is actually quite toxic and quite annoying to read. It's no longer as fun as it used to be when social media first came out.
Fun fact about the Twitch quartet, which I posted it on the Sky Sports F1 YouTube page, but I think nobody really replied, was that Carlos Sainz has become teammates with 3 out of the 4 Twitch quartet, so he only left with George Russell. So Sainz to Mercedes in 2027.
Well, probably feeder team to feeder team. Nah, I don't think so. I mean, I look at it this way: they don't even know if they are going to keep George Russell for next year.
But I think the 26 grid is kind of
no. Max Verstappen is not locked down yet. So
because he chose not to be locked down, I guess.
Yes, that's why, and then George Russell was not locked down yet.
Yeah,
because Mercedes haven't locked him down yet. So I feel that it's like all up in the air. Silly season is not over yet. Now here's my very clever title for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Is it the F1 in Singapore? Is it F1 for all or all for F1?
Now that's a good.
Yep.
All your marketing spiel.
Yes. Yeah. So with all the activity and all the buzz around F1, emanating from the Marina Bay circuit, right? You do have we had conversations about this, and you are not really convinced that it's 100% great for everybody living in Singapore.
I have my reservations, I guess.
Okay, so what's your gripes with the Grand Prix in Singapore?
I think for me, it's not really a gripe, but more like I see the other point of view, which is the alternative side. Is that the past week where we saw the whole hoo-ha on social media, especially with F1, was that the infrastructure thing really, really kind of got exposed through us hosting F1. And there were like a lot of people who had problems getting home after the whole concert. I think it was the Friday night.
Okay, so the background to it is this. The Grand Prix runs on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then there are concerts held after every session in Formula One in Singapore, right? So every day of the weekend, there is a concert, especially after the last session, right? Traditionally, the Friday session is featuring an Asian-based artist. So it could be a Korean artist, a Taiwanese artist, or Chinese artist, or something like that. And then on Saturday and Sunday, it's usually a Western act. So like this year, it's like Elton John and
Foo Fighters,
right? Yeah. And the problem came about is that last Friday, what happened was the G-Dragon was the headline act for Friday night. His performance ended at 11:30, but the MRT lines closed at 12:30. So the fans only had an hour to get on the MRT train, and they were basically locked out of the MRT station, and they had to find other means to get out of the city center.
Yeah, and I think the controversy now is that I think there are two sides of the story. Some were saying that because it is a headline show, it's one of headline events of Singapore, so it's like you should actually be preparing, our infrastructure should be prepared for all these things. But to me, what I'm seeing is that it actually further exposes like the problems with the infrastructure. Because from what I know, I think Circle Line has been on maintenance for since start of September. So I think because it's part of the whole system renewal thing when they are trying to
yes, there are always maintenance works going on with the MRT, and there's line expansion going on, and therefore at some points in time the MRT trains do close earlier, right? And then of course it wasn't a good look that so many people were stuck outside the MRT station.
Yeah, and I think there were more social media clips coming out of it about that than let's say the good points about
Yes. So
The
back to that point that you spoke about the MRT trains, right? And you shared with us a screenshot of this comment.
yeah.
And I have it right here in front of me. And it basically says that if the trains were to run later because F1, then who's going to pay for it? Is the state going to pay for the operational cost of extending the hours? Right? You think we are some charity case? This comment said, and it's for everybody, regardless of whether they're citizens or foreigners, are like to choose. If you stay late, you pay for the cab or wait for the first train. Right? The world owes you nothing. You want longer hours, you get F1 to pay for it, or your ticket price will pay for it. And actually, this comment you sent, it really triggered me because the level of ignorance in this comment is annoying me. All right. Now, why do I say that? Yes, you may say that the MRT train service should be borne by people who either go for a specific event if it's supposed to run late, or the person who's taking that public transport pay for that public service.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the thing is, this event as a whole, if you do not know, is also very heavily subsidized by the government. So because of the tangible and intangible benefits of Formula One in Singapore for its economic activity, the Singapore government has constantly been subsidizing about 60 to 70% of the direct running costs of Formula One in Singapore. Right? The reason why is because of the model in which F1 operates in. When a race comes to your race circuit,
we pay for
yes. So basically, the host, regardless of whether it's Monaco or Monza,
Abu Dhabi,
yeah, regardless of the city or the race circuit that's hosting that, the race circuit pays Formula One to visit and race in town. What this does for the teams is that the teams and Formula One as a whole gets a fixed income. Right? That's also the reason why in the past so many cities that were supposed to host F1 didn't end up hosting F1. Because when the financial crisis hit in 2008-9, a lot of the supposed races just didn't happen anymore. Because they couldn't afford it, right? But for us, we as a relatively wealthy state, we could invest the money to keep it going. Because the state, like the government, sees that there's positive effects in the economy for running F1 in Singapore, both directly tangible and long-term intangible effects. Therefore, in their view, they feel that it's worth subsidizing a substantial amount to keep the race running in Singapore. Right? So I think to me, it seems like a very ignorant comment to say that because people are attending an event, they should be paying extra for the tickets to view a public to access a public transportation service, especially when this event is also backed by the public service or the public sector as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if I were to stand on your side, it would be similar to NDP, right? Like,
Yes.
because we run NDP, we choose to run NDP, we pay money as a nation to celebrate our independence.
Yes.
And therefore, then everybody else, as SMRT, the operators and stuff like that, then they make sure the public transports run later to support that event.
For a start, the event for National Day Parade, the end time for National Day Parade is actually quite early. By about 9-ish, they are done. Like the TV broadcast ends about 8:30, 9 o'clock, right? So NDP actually does not end as late as what some people thought it could end. That's the first thing. It doesn't end that late. And I feel that the point about, and also the other thing about this comment that irked me is that it's actually quite a moot point as to who pays for the train service. To me, it's a moot point because regardless of whether that MRT system is a fully private or fully public system, it should be running at the time when there is demand. It is not unimaginable that people require a service at that point in time, and that if you're operating a very substantial piece of infrastructure, you should be running at a time when people require your services. It doesn't matter if you are fully publicly owned or fully privately owned. If there are people who need the train, you should run the train. It's not as if the train is broken down. That's a different matter altogether. This is a choice to turn off the system, and that caused people to be stuck in town. Yeah.
I think there are some gripes because I think it came at a not so opportune time because of what's happening with the transport system currently, with the train system currently. Then that could have exacerbated public opinion, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it does add to the general discontent that people who are using the MRT system have with it at this point in time.
But on the other hand, it's like, yeah, even if you, let's say, you add on another 2 hours of running time, it's not going to.
Let's hope the train does not break down during those 2
Yeah.
extra hours of service.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, so I feel that, okay, you are talking about, whether our infrastructure hold it up. The country has run the event for 16 years or so. It's not as if we're running it for the first time. The transportation system actually runs quite well if it's turned on. Buses still work. As a Grab driver, actually the CBD area traffic is not that bad for something there's 300,000 people with tickets in town, and many more who are in town not because they are there for the race itself.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't think that is really an issue. I do understand the road closure element. The road closure element, ultimately, you are taking away important trunk roads that cut across the city from east to west.
Yeah.
The Esplanade Bridge is not available, which causes a lot of diversions. You have to go the other way around, or loop around, or something like that, just to go from the east side of the city to the west side of the city. That one I understand.
I think the other part that I feel is that maybe isn't that worth the salt is because I think for Heartlanders, especially if you have no stake in the game and you are not in in an industry that's like centric to F1, like hospitality or F&B and all this kind of thing, I think most Singaporeans don't really care that much. But then at the same time, when Grand Prix weekend comes about, or the race week comes about, like every single one wants to jump on the bandwagon of F1. Like even like in the heartlands, they have like, I don't know, like they have like marketing, like the atriums of like malls start to like have all these things, which is like
race themed displays and things like that, right?
And then sometimes then you think, do people really care that much? Or is it like, okay lah, life goes on and then...
I think that both are true. That means one, that is life just goes on. My Heartlander life goes on as per normal. And at the same time, if I am kind of into it, I would get into the vibe of things. With a bit of like checkered flag bunting and things like that. I feel that, yes, it is not necessarily a sport that Heartlanders naturally gravitate towards. We don't have the necessary infrastructure for people to take part in it actively. It's not like football. I mean, like football as a sport is really neutered in Singapore. You can't play anywhere you want to play, right?
Yeah.
However, it is an easier sport to pick up than karting, which is the lead up to Formula racing, right? If you own a car, you can't just take your car and go for a track day because there's no track in Singapore. There's no proper track in Singapore to race on or even drive fast on, right? And it's a sport that is naturally quite exclusionary.
It's more like a rich man's sport kind of.
Some people say that, and I tend to agree with that. It's not a sport that if you are a fan of, you can have easy access to take part in.
I think multiple reasons how Liberty Media structures it and stuff like that, and how F1 Singapore tries to like equalize the stakes and stuff like that to the ticket prices has gone up significantly over the years. I think when it first came to Singapore, it was like 298 for like a walkabout.
I honestly do not know how much the prices are, and I don't even know what they are today.
Yeah, I know,
However,
like,
I can point out a data point for you, and as an anecdotal data point. In the past, if I wanted to watch an F1 race, the thing is that in the past, pre-2020, what happened was if I needed a ticket, what I would do is I'll go to Carousel, I'll find someone who has a corporate ticket, because you have each day has one pass, they would probably sell one of the days out, and it will be at the price that is 70%. That means a 30% discount off the listed price of that particular ticket for the day. However, these days, if you want to find a ticket like that, you will have to pay face value at the very least to get the ticket in.
And I think also because fans of the sport don't really like to say it, but I think there's also like new fans who came in through the whole Netflix Drive to Survive fad that like
Yes, so
kind
that-
of like
yes.
there's more demand for the sport lah.
Exactly. Like the first year where F1 came back to Singapore, I attended that particular race, and I could see a very major shift in the type of people I saw at the circuit. It used to be older millennials, at the very least. Like the youngest people you generally see are older millennials bringing kids, right? These days, especially after the pandemic, the first race where we came back, there were a lot of Gen Zs who came in and they were going like, "Oh, this is like Max Verstappen," and like, they're like, "Oh, I like Charles Leclerc because it's so cute," and all that kind of stuff. I'm not there to judge whether they are there because they are proper fans of racing or not, because there are various ways to enjoy a sport, right? How good looking David Beckham is also part of enjoying football, right? So there are more people who are actively watching the racing for sure, and therefore what it has caused is that tickets are higher in demand and the prices have gone up, at least even in the secondary market. I'm not sure if the list prices for tickets have gone up as well. However,
I think they rejig some of the categories to make it like, I think last time there was a really, really like 198 ticket for sale, but now there's like the lowest tier to just get in is like I think 400 plus. Like,
yes, but now that you can sell 300,000 tickets, regardless of the channels, you can sell 300,000 tickets. Then naturally there is headroom for a price increase after all. And for a business point of view, there's no way to speak against it when they say they can raise the prices, because they really can raise the prices for the tickets. I mean, yes, there is accessibility issues in terms of, you say people of the heartlands, right? Maybe someone is interested, but they just don't have the means to attend or the means to access it. Then what do we do? Do sponsors of individual teams give people access to the sport? Do sponsors of the race itself give people access to the sport? I haven't seen much of it going on. There may be sponsors who do that. There may be people who do that, but I don't see any of such examples, right? And which goes back to your original point, right? Like heartlanders, the average Singaporean who is living in their daily lives at NTUC FairPrice, yeah, they may not really care that much. But at the same time, my counterpoint to that is, it doesn't mean that anything that is majorly happening in Singapore has to have every single person caring that much also. When the Singapore Air Show is happening, does it mean that everyone needs to start looking at planes in the sky every day? No. When the World Aquatics Championship happened, does it mean that every single person must be into swimming for a week or two? We are not that small a city anymore, and therefore having a major event happening in the city center not affecting your daily life is actually, to me, a sign that this city is big enough for it to happen. Right? That you can go about your daily life. You can go about your daily life in Tampines Mall or Jurong Point, right? and be unaffected by what's happening in the city center where the richest people in the world are watching. Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either. It's just that accessibility, let's hope that people can do more, because I think especially for the young, the having aspiration for the young is a great thing. And we don't necessarily have the means or the avenues for the young to be aspirational about Formula One. Yeah, there are lots of opportunities there, and we're not tapping on them enough.
Yeah, so because from what I see, because Petronas is one of the title sponsors for Mercedes, right?
It's the team title
Yeah,
sponsor.
team title sponsor. So our neighbors up north have access to Formula One, not through the sport in terms of like having drivers. Yes, they do have an ex F1 driver. But what Petronas has contributed in terms of playing a part in bringing the sport to Malaysia, even though they are not hosting a race, is that I think Petronas allows for like students, engineering students, STEM-based students to have an opportunity to intern with the Formula One team, and they do have people who work in the factory who are from Malaysia. I think through their social media channels, we did see like some of it's part of their like CSR kind of thing.
Yes, they do send like the smart kids to go to like the engine works,
like Brackley and stuff like that. Yeah, so maybe for Singapore is that in order to drum up, maybe the teams should start looking at how they can play a part in terms of like making it more interesting for internal education.
And this part I feel is something that we can tap a lot more into. This is something that can be tapped into a very Singaporean aspect of our psyche.
Education.
Yes, like all the big STEM education ideas, right? Like you have you train your kids to be like the best engineers or the best mathematicians, and they can be either mechanical engineers who come up with like suspension systems, or they can be aerodynamicists who come up with new wing designs and things like that. Or if they're mathematically strong, they could be the data analytics or the mathematicians that run the strategy for the teams, right? And these are all things that despite running a race for 16 years, we have not pushed this, given people an idea that, hey, if you are good at maths, you could potentially get an internship at an F1 team, or even a lower Formula team, or at another race team at another race circuit,
or you could be an engine manufacturer. You work something with the engine manufacturers and things like that.
Yeah,
and stuff like
even
that.
If you're not in the racing side of things, you could be deployed in other aspects of the automotive industry, and that knowledge is transferable to other aspects of engineering.
And we
right?
kind of do know that F1 technologies in F1 do trickle down to like consumer electronics or consumer automobile industry. Like I think like the curse system or the MGU-K, I think it's like used in, I think the Mercedes one is even used in their road cars, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Or part of it is adapted into the road cars in that Mercedes is using, the electric cars. And then you look at how a lot of consumer automobile brands are coming back into F1. I think for 26 onwards, Ford is coming back.
Ford is coming back.
Who else? Audi is
Cadillac was it Cadillac?
Cadillac is coming back, but they are not gonna be an engine manufacturer yet. But they aim to do so by I think 2032, if I'm not wrong. Then Audi will become their own works team as well, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, so it's like all these things, we do see that the engineering part of things in F1 being the geeky part of us, is that that's part of it that interests us with the sport as well. It's not just like the drivers, the action on the circuit, but also like the engineering side of it is actually very interesting if you see about it. But yeah, like we said, it seems as though like we never really got to tap into that with the teams. Like it would have been interesting to have like a sit down with James Vowles or Toto or Adrian Newey or people like that.
Yeah. Well, okay. I just did a quick Google as you were making that point, right? Like
Yeah.
that's about that missed opportunity, right?
Yeah.
So I did a quick Google. So there are some people who actually are from Singapore working in the industry. So there's a guy working in can't remember, it doesn't say which team. No, I can't quickly tell which team he's working in. But basically he's working in F1. There's a F1 in schools program. There's an F1 in schools program run by a licensed company that has the rights to use the F1 branding to talk about engineering in schools. If we are putting so many resources into
Running a
running the
race.
race, then I think a small portion of the cost of a small proportion of the public funds to make this happen should also be put into the education sphere, so that ultimately we also want to spark imagination amongst the young, right? We want to have kids have ideas that, hey, this is not just a sport I watch, but it's something that I can potentially take part in. Because really, honestly, we don't have the space to run that many race kart circuits. There's only one karting circuit in Singapore left, and we need the space to do other things in this island. And also, karting is a very expensive sport. It is the gateway to open top car racing and formula racing, but it's also something that really burns the
I
pockets.
think I heard somewhere is like somebody made this point, which is like very valid, which is like karting is like, and Formula 4, 3, and 2 is like the most expensive internship that you have to pay your way into F1.
Yes, so it's a huge, heavy investment for the first 15, 20 years of your life to
To even get a chance to be seen by teams to be called
to
into F1.
potentially get a job that pays millions in return in the future. Right? Like
Yeah.
Ocon, like Esteban Ocon used to have that, right? The father was a mechanic, right? Sold everything that they had and basically lived out in a van and tried.
Even Lewis himself, his dad basically like,
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton had something
Yeah.
like that as well. Like the whole
Yeah.
family, basically all the funding in the family poured into Lewis Hamilton's career at the start. All these things, it's a very expensive sport to get into. But as much as the drivers are the heroes of the sport, there are many other elements at play in Formula One. It's very unique in the sense that it is a sporting challenge, but it's also an engineering challenge. And
it's also a team sport.
and
As much as we say that, we see the person driving the car.
yes, and it's interesting to me because it's also an engineering sporting challenge. Because everyone who's developing upgrades and developing the car and developing components and aerodynamics and all that, they are also fighting against the clock. They also have elements of restriction. They have to have like limited CFD time. There is restriction as to how much testing you can do. You know, all these things. And of course, within your team itself, there's financial restrictions because
there's a cap to like what you can spend, and
even if there's no cap, there's physical limitations of money, right?
Yeah.
Right. So these things are expensive. So like just for an example, there was a Ferrari bumped into McLaren at one of the earlier practice sessions or qualifying sessions. They bumped into the rear wing, and then they were joking about it because Zach Brown was saying that like the reporter asked Zach Brown, like, so does Fred Vasseur owe you £200,000?
Yeah, because that's usually the average price of
that wing,
a real
right?
wing, yeah.
And then Zach Brown basically joked saying that never mind, he can just like give me one of his Richard Milles and then that will sort it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a sport that is expensive. It's a sport that has different challenges involved, and it's only after being a fan of the sport then I realized that actually there's a lot of potential opportunities to make your life interesting if you're a young kid and you want to be part of this whole thing. There are many, many avenues, and what is also great about Formula One these days is that more and more girls are taking part in the sport as both drivers, engineers, strategists, all that,
analytics.
Yeah. So it's something that is more inclusive these days, and we should, as a host, be using this as an opportunity to spark the imagination of our young, because since we are talking about making every young person explore and expand their potential, then this should be one of those things, because ultimately, for the development of our country and of our future, it's a great thing to have.
I guess the other side of it, which is like, why is it worth running the race in Singapore? So I guess some of the things, the economic reasons kind of speaks for itself. When the Grand Prix was first run in Singapore, because we were the first ever night race. And then when the night race finishes, then the whole fireworks thing that happens and stuff like that, then it kind of like put Singapore on the map lah.
Because you don't see fireworks at F1 races in other countries, because in the daytime you don't really see fireworks.
Yeah, then
except for one place, America.
Yeah.
Because in America everything has fireworks.
And quotas is like, it's like boom, boom, boom.
Yes.
So I also see it that like it kind of brings us to the seat at the big boys table. Like we kind of get noticed by the international audience, because people who start coming to races may have never heard of Singapore, but I think due to like corporate sponsorships and stuff like that, they're like, oh, okay, it's like be here on the weekend, they get a pass and then they travel. And I think we are the only race now in this region, in Southeast Asia at least.
Well,
Not counting Middle East,
Japan, and Singapore are the only 3 races in the Far East.
Asia Pacific, if you count, then
Australia.
it's Melbourne. Yeah.
However, as much as it puts us on the world map, I would also say that we are also placed on the, when you say placed on the world map, I realized over the weekend as a Grab driver on the weekend that we are placed on the world map of rich people. That's the main thing that we're actually placed on. Right? Because it really drove a lot of big money, some clean, some not so clean, some ethical, some not so ethical money into Singapore.
I think we also see like there are adjacent industries that's not even like directly related to Formula One.
Sponsorship money related.
Yeah, sponsorship money related that come into Singapore during the F1 weekend because it's the in place to be.
Yes. Okay, just take one step back. The reason why that happens is because in countries where F1 is a major sport and has a huge following, and these tend to be European rich countries, Singapore has become a bucket list destination for many of these race fans. So there have been many people that I've met in the past say that they wish that one day they will have the weekend in Singapore where it's racing. And even if they don't have the good fortune to visit Singapore on a race weekend, they visit Singapore because they heard of us through the races.
Yeah, and a lot of people start hearing us because firstly we were the first night race before, like I think before Bahrain and Abu Dhabi had it. Then now even like Jeddah street circuit. So we were the first. Then I think secondly was because how it is a street circuit. So we were like one of the 2 only street circuits at that time, Monaco and us.
Well, Melbourne
is half, right?
Melbourne is kind of, yeah.
So then another reason that a lot of people start to have the bucket list is because it's a very demanding circuit due to like the temperature. And part of the reason why it was a night race is because the daytime temperatures on track is gonna be crazy. That
is way too hot.
Yeah,
I don't think Malaysia can come back so easily, because it's now the temperatures are hotter than the early 2000s when they were still racing. That's how hot it is. And on top of that, I think another reason why we are a destination is also, frankly speaking, is because we have a more Western facing outlook as a society. So we are less conservative than many of the Middle Eastern destinations. We don't have alcohol restrictions like in certain countries in the Middle East, because they are Islamic countries. Therefore, like the alcohol consumption is a bit of a taboo of a topic there. Whereas in Singapore, we are a very Western-facing society, a very Western-facing country. Therefore, you know, people can spray champagne on the podium.
And also because part of the reason also is that because we are so in touch with the Western world, a lot of these sponsors do have a subsidiary here, which kind of makes sense for them to be here on a race weekend.
Yes, so the flywheel is from there.
Yeah.
Like people want to be here to begin with, and therefore they need to find some random ass excuse to come to Singapore, right? So one thing I noticed is this year in particular, all the crypto bros are in town. All the crypto bros are in town, all the various crypto funds,
Exchanges and-
exchanges, all your
And I think almost every single Formula One team has a crypto partner.
yeah, it's the new tobacco.
Yeah.
Basically, there's like you because you cannot put tobacco on anymore. You can't put vapes on anymore. So you gotta find the next industry that is like money that is traceable or untraceable. Therefore, you go to the crypto industry, and the crypto industry is happy to sponsor it because it glamorizes their industry and their firm, their business.
So like we said that on every single Formula One car, you will either see a crypto exchange or cryptocurrency related thing. You will see an energy drink.
Yep.
And most probably you will see some technology partner.
Yeah, but technology partners, because I think it's also necessary for the sport. But the point is this: like because of that, I noticed that there were a lot of events held at various hotels in Singapore for these crypto firms, for them to engage clients, for them to meet partners and all that. It's not just hotels in the city center. So I had a customer who had to travel from the city center into Capella Hotel,
which is Sentosa.
And that was another event. And there are some companies that I heard held multiple events on the same day. Yeah, to host different types of people. The weekend before Rossick, there was a expo or a function or a convention that was on the weekend before that as well. So why is that happening? Partly because I can get my company to pay for me to fly to Singapore to attend an official work event.
And then I get to enjoy the race
and
after.
I just hang on for a while because either the client side or whoever is hosting me for the weekend to wine and dine me in the Grand Prix, or I have an excuse to stay on a bit longer, on and save some money or whatever, not to to stay in Singapore for longer and watch the race in the weekend.
Yep.
Yeah. So all these things matter, right? I have also seen like some team sponsors, they will use their local office base as agent to push for sales via the race. One example is I've seen Bombardier. Bombardier makes private jets, right? And they also have a plant in Singapore.
Seletar, right?
Yeah, they have a facility in Singapore because they do maintenance for private jets in Singapore. And they were trying to the person I knew was basically a potential customer to buy planes from Bombardier, and therefore they got like a seat, they got a night where they got to sit inside the Singapore Flyer capsule while the race was happening below them, and the person was being put in a 5-star hotel room at the Ritz-Carlton, actually facing the track. So it's like you could, if you didn't move out of the hotel room, you could watch the race, but they're going to put you into another place that has a even better view of the race, and because both the race is happening as well as a sales office it's in the country, in the city. So I think these are like good opportunities for that go what we call the intangibles, right? That are indirectly coming out of the race itself, right? It's not just about the tickets.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think also then the other point that we kind of see, a lot of us may attend or we may buy a ticket from F1 not to go to the races but actually to enjoy the show after, which is then gives access to non-fans, I guess, the arts and entertainment side, which is kind of we can actually say that we were the pioneers of this whole thing before Liberty Media even like had this idea that, because the idea that they want to turn a race weekend to not just be about the race, but it becomes a spectacle for the 3 days. So a usual race weekend is what? Friday is a practice session, Saturday is practice come qualifying, then Sunday is the actual race. So usually the hoo-ha starts around like Thursday, right? Like where the media will be.
It used to be Thursday, but these days the hoo-ha even starts earlier in the week.
Yeah.
Like there are more and more events happening.
So for Singapore, it's like we started with like in 08, then we started to have concerts. I remembered friends in 08 trying to get tickets because Backstreet Boys had their act in Singapore. After so many, yeah, 08 was Backstreet Boys, I remembered. Because I had friends who like, they managed to get a ticket, like, because I started uni during that time. So uni, we were staying on campus all the way in like Pulau NTU. Then I have friends who got the ticket, then they traveled all the way down to town, even though they had like lecture on Monday, then they just went for the concert, then they came back on campus.
Yeah.
Just because, just for the concert itself. So it kind of then engages the non-fans with something
I
to spend
agree
money
with
on.
that. Like there are very, very big acts that have appeared before. So some of the notable ones are like some of the notable ones would be like Linkin Park. Linkin Park with Chester Bennington played in 2011.
Yeah,
right?
then Queen was here.
Queen with Adam Lambert was here before. Red Hot Chili Peppers was here before. Green Day was here before.
Foo Fighters
this year. There are also other.
Hans Zimmer was here one of the years, I remember.
Yes, Hans Zimmer was here as well. The type of acts actually varied, and they are also very smart in terms of choosing the acts, because a lot of the acts they actually tune towards a more British type audience as well.
Because Formula One is a more British centric.
It's a somewhat Anglo-centric sport. Therefore, the type of some Gen Zs will complain and say that this is a boomer music festival. I mean, Elton John was on stage, but ultimately the event is to cater to the target audience, right? However, I do notice one thing over the weekend as I was driving Grab, is that this week is a very different week compared to previous F1 weekends. Traditionally, our F1 weekend ran in the last week of September or thereabouts.
I think it started with like August, then we shifted to September, and shifting further back. Yes, because the calendar has expanded over the years.
But the last few years before this year was in September. This year is a bit later. And one major impact of that is that it shifted the entire, when they shift the entire calendar to the first week of October, a lot of Chinese tourists that would have come to Singapore choose not to come because they may potentially be priced out of the hotels and things like that.
And also because it's their golden week.
It's their golden week. So they have a whole week worth of holiday from 1st to 7th of October every year. And in a way, it was a missed opportunity for the tourism industry, because Chinese tourists chose to go to places like Vietnam or whatever not. That also made me realize something. What I realized was that we are not just attracting more money into Singapore or more volume of tourists into Singapore. We are actually attracting high spending tourism into Singapore for the week. It's an economical decision, because you could have one hotel room with an average tourist spender or a big spender for that one weekend, right? As an example. And many of the people that came to Singapore came in with intentions to spend big. They are either people who have big money backing, corporate sponsors or whatever, corporate money and all that,
which already is pumped in anyway.
Yes, that's one. Or people who saved up for a long number of years to come in as a couple or what, to come and watch the race because it's a destination.
It's like a bucket list, like we said before.
Exactly. So the type of people that we attracted for that week, we were potentially giving up people that were willing to spend for people who are willing to spend even more, right? Because regardless of whether these people were there to genuinely watch the race, it doesn't matter because ultimately, from an economic developmental point of view, we have attracted higher spenders for that weekend into the country, right? Of course, there are some people who are impacted. So there was one person with a TikTok that shared that she didn't check that we had a Grand Prix weekend in Singapore, and she had to pay like $100 for a shared room in a hostel in Singapore for one night in Singapore.
Oh, so she's not a F1 fan, but she just happened to be in Singapore.
Yes, she's a backpacker. She wanted to come to Singapore. She came to Singapore and then realized that, all the hotels are expensive, all the hostels are expensive. What is supposed to be a $20 or $50 bed
becomes like $100,
$100+ because
it's the race weekend.
It's the race weekend. Like, I do feel for that person because ultimately, as a backpacker, you are traveling on a budget. But at the same time, as a broader picture from a developmental point of view, what we were doing for a week was that we were trying to attract as much big money, big spending people into the country as much as possible, to the city as much as possible.
Yep.
And that also has impacted on the prices at the bars,
the F&B around city area and stuff like that.
The Grab fares were like double what they normally were, right? So,
and I think for most Singaporeans, if you are really not into the racing, you kind of stay away from the city area anyway during the...
If you're the type of Singaporean who lives in like Tampines and goes to Uniqlo for the weekend to buy a t-shirt, the t-shirt's not going to get more expensive, right? Your food's not going to get more expensive at Tampines Mall. The bus lanes are not going to get jammed, right? It doesn't really impact, back to the earlier point, right? You really don't get impacted day to day. But in the city center, we are getting big spenders throwing their cash at Marquee, at Marina Bay Sands.
Yep. And I think that's when the companies or the retail or F&B or the businesses, they capitulate during this period. They earn their...
Some of them do, some of them don't. I mean, Suntec City is a bit dead during the time. But if you have big people, you have big spenders at Marquee throwing stupid money at a cocktail bar, what does this mean? GST vouchers.
True.
Your
SG60 vouchers kind of pay for itself in that sense.
Yes, not SG60 vouchers, but the foreigner who has to pay GST,
pays your GST offset.
Yes, is paying for your
the you save or whatever.
Exactly. So we have not only turbocharged inflation, we have turbocharged our vouchers for the year as well.
Yeah. So I guess the whole conclusion is that there's more good than the bad that comes out from F1 in Singapore. We can say that. But at the same time, we also feel that there could be more that F1, or we could potentially partner in more areas, especially in terms of like engineering and getting our people exposed to the not just the racing side of F1, but the engineering and the strategy and the mathematics, the STEM part of F1 that we kind of like haven't really do much for like the past decade that we have hosted the race lah.
So yeah, we are happy with F1 to stay in Singapore. Maybe one day when the tickets are not as crazy or that it's difficult to get, then we will probably watch again lah. Or if another solid
act comes, then
then we will just watch F1 and as a by the way kind of thing. Yeah. So this week we have our regular segment that is Today I Learned. So what did you learn today?
So I had this random thought in my head because I was just like scrolling through like YouTube shorts. Then they landed on the video, a shot of like So Jason Momoa, I think a month and a half or a month plus back, he got invited on a interview with Jolly. So Jolly is like the second channel of Korean Englishman. So then, like then the interview is like they went to this Hawaiian place to eat to eat food lah. Like so they visited him in Hawaii, but then at the same time, Jolly being Jolly, usually they will like introduce some part of like English food to like their guests and stuff like that. Then so they made him eat like fish and chips. So then they kind of like so they asked him like, oh, do you like having vinegar on your? And he said, oh, I love vinegar on fish. And they started like splashing vinegar. So it come to my head, it's like, so who actually had the idea like why does fish and chips go so well with like vinegar, like malt vinegar? So I kind of went to like search up, and then I actually learned that part of the reason why we kind of like fried food, then we have like the vinegar thing is because it's because of like chemistry and like how our taste buds work. So it's like having vinegar when you eat like fried food or like savory food is that it kind of helps you cut through the greasiness, and then it kind of brings in a bit of like umami, because like like malt vinegar itself is, I mean, we have eaten before, right? It's not just like sour. There's like a
Have to be pedantic. The malt vinegar that you taste is sometimes not actually vinegar.
yeah.
It's actually something that tastes like vinegar and has no alcohol, and therefore it's actually halal.
Yeah. Then it kind of also brings in that freshness, because soury food usually the brain kind of associates with like freshness, like lime, lemon, and stuff like that. And then it also kind of like helps with the texture thing, because usually like fried fish is like very crunchy. So when you splash it with like vinegar, then it softens it up. So it's like it doesn't cut the top of the palate, when it's like very hot and it's like very crunchy, something you cut the top of your palate, so it softens a bit. So it's like all these factors combined, that's why it's like it goes well. Then after that, then I started to think, so does it actually like similar to how like Chinese we eat like 小笼包 or we eat dumplings, 饺子, then we put like black vinegar. So it's similar in that sense. So it's like there's like a equivalent in like Asian food.
Yes, there are quite a few equivalents I can think of. Like for example, bak chor mee. So you have minced pork and lard, right? And then you add vinegar to it to
But
cut
also
through
because
that,
of the alkali part of the noodles that
which is actually the best part of noodles.
Yeah.
Bite me. But the thing is that like there's one example there, and then the other one is ketchup on fries. Because there's actually a very strong vinegar component in tomato ketchup. In
cider vinegar usually, yeah.
Yes, right. So therefore you have fried greasy French fries with ketchup, right? And therefore I'm always a proponent of salt and
Heinz.
vinegar chips.
Oh, not Heinz
Salt
ketchup.
and vinegar crisps. Salt and vinegar potato crisps, because it's basically the bag already has the ketchup built in a way.
But there's also tomato flavored chips.
Yeah, but the tomato flavored chips don't have that vinegary element to it.
It's more of the umami side of the tomato
Yes,
rather than.
and if like my favorite bag, right, that the one that I always eat, right, there's always a very good mouthfeel to it because of the vinegar. Yeah.
So what have you learned?
What I learned recently, okay, I may need to put pictures into this for the video version of this. So, do you notice that a lot of Chinese schools in Southeast Asia have a similar type of school uniform, especially for the boys?
The metal buttons.
The metal buttons, which is basically the military look. You have the epaulets on the shoulders, then you have metal buttons or buttons down the middle, and then you have patch pockets on the chest, which is similar to like your number 4, right? If you think about it. And if you're looking at older uniforms, it looks even closer to that, right? So in countries like Singapore, it's like Chinese High, Catholic High, Anglican High. I think Chung Cheng High has it, right?
RV,
River Valley, I think. some schools have changed away from that to a more modern design. So
I think some schools still retain that, but you get to wear like your PE because of the
yeah,
climate
but
now.
basically the old traditional uniform
Yeah.
of the school has that military style look, right? And I was wondering why was that the case. Yeah, so I went to Google it. So the best explanation I could find as to why this happened, because there were some theories. Some people asked, is it because of colonialism, or was it because China went communist? And
So
all
that yeah, so like it's like
Yeah, so
Mao's army kind of thing.
yes. So some people thought, is it because China went communist, therefore you went there?
But a lot of these schools were already established before communist China came into
Yes.
power. What?
So yes, but here's the thing: they were established. A lot of them had a strong establishment period in the 1910s and 1930s.
Nationalistic.
Yes, is therefore linked to the Kuomintang side of things, the nationalist side of China at the time. In modern day, now the Taiwan side of China, right? And they had uniforms, military uniforms, that are similar to what you see in the schools today. So that's where it's derived from. And the nationalist army gets in turn, the Chinese nationalist army got its ideas from the Prussian army.
Which is why the blue and
Yes. So the link, that's why it's like, why do like Singaporean schools, Chinese schools have uniforms that look like traditional Western military uniform, right? That's the reason why. It jumped from like the Prussians
to the nationalist army.
to nationalist China,
Yeah.
some say Taiwan,
Yeah.
and then to the schools in Southeast Asia. So many of the schools in like Malaya, Singapore, some of the biggest Chinese schools that you can think of, they have that uniform because that's where it came about.
I never knew that our secondary school uniform has links to Prussia.
So that's what I recently learned. And looking back at the last 4 or 5 episodes, I would like to talk about what we've done, we've done so far. So it's been like more than a month, or about a month since we
Did our first.
first launched, and I think we've learned quite a fair bit during this time. And on reflection, there were some ups and there were some downs. For me, the ups was when we first launched, we really just threw the dice out, and we got a pair of snake eyes, but at least we got a pair of snake eyes out of it, right? It was a bit difficult for me last week. F1 weekend, I was hard at work, and frankly, our last recording, in my opinion, does not meet
Publication standards.
It's not. Yeah, I don't feel that it's worth the quality that I would at least tell myself I wouldn't be proud of the quality of work that we put out.
Yeah.
I don't know what your opinion of the quality of it was, because I think quality is subjective. But at least for myself, I felt that the quality of what we recorded really isn't worth your time.
Which is why, yeah,
That's just why we
missed an episode last week.
So although this is going to be Act 4, technically it should have been Act 5.
Yeah.
Right. And part of the reason why I didn't publish was also because I was listening to an episode of Diary of a CEO when about a year or two ago, and Stephen Bartlett was like reflecting on the things that he did to grow the channel, both in terms of followers, in terms of engagement, in terms of the financial side of it. And I think one of the things that he put out and highlighted and emphasized on was the quality of the episodes that he put out. He was prepared to kill off episodes if he felt that they were not up to standard. And it's to the extent that if he had a well-known guest that flew in to talk to him that has a following which would have bumped his own following for that show, he still had to tell the guests, I'm sorry, I had to can the show because it's just not of value to the audience. And I think we will go back to that topic again after having a bit more research and a bit more understanding of the topic.
Yeah, and it was kind of like a off the cuff. Like we just said, okay, let's just talk
let's
about
just
that.
do it. Yeah, and to me, it's just I think a lesson learned from it, right? We
Yeah.
know, at least we know what it is like when we are trying to do something that we can't pull off.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think?
So I think for me, this whole process was like, okay, act one was really like, okay, let's just
Put something out.
put something out. And then I mean, I've never been really comfortable speaking in front of camera. I mean, I speak in front of crowds and stuff like that before through work and stuff like that, but this just feels a bit different because it's like you have to think sometimes, and even though sometimes we say that like our conversations it flows, but having cameras in front of you and speaking to the camera feels,
The observer effect kicks in.
then you get a bit self-conscious
Ye-
self-conscious about the whole thing, right?
Yes, and
Yeah.
editing it is also quite disconcerting because I don't sound like that in my head. Like when I talk
Yeah,
to
I know.
people,
Same.
yeah, and it's so weird because nowadays I just see it as I'm editing somebody else because that voice is so different on the headphones that I hear in the recording.
Then
I
what's
just
in your head? Yeah.
yeah, so it's just like I just take it that I'm
So
just editing someone else's
yeah,
work.
so I think going back to the idea is like, okay, Act 1 was like, fine. Like, let's just get it out there. Then Act 2 and 3 kind of flowed a bit more. Then I thought it was like we kind of start to get into a groove of things. Then
Yes.
we hit into that. Like, it's like a mental block in terms of like how we do things, right?
However, I must point out that with one to three,
Mm,
what I enjoyed the most was not looking at the view count.
mm.
Because frankly, in terms of quality, I felt that 3 felt better than 2.
Yeah.
But the view count didn't reflect that. But to me, that wasn't really the case. That wasn't really the main point. The big thing for me was that I started to hear feedback from people. Like I have some friends talk to me. Some friends tell me things. My wife told me things. You have friends who told you things, right? And like your friends told you what we use vocabulary that's too obscure.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we don't really go out of our way like a secondary 4 student trying to write flowery language for their composition. We really don't.
Yeah. I think it's more of like,
We really talk this way.
yeah.
Yeah, we are weird like that, and we also don't apologize for being ourselves in our conversation. We are really not going out of our way to try and find words to blow.
Although
people's minds.
sometimes it is still feels a bit surreal that we are recording a podcast sometimes.
Yes, we use did you knows to blow people's minds. We don't use flowery language to blow people's minds.
Yeah.
I will admit that we like to tell people things that they potentially don't know to blow their minds.
Yeah.
That's where we get our kicks from. And that's why we are doing this in the first place.
So
right?
I guess for me to wrap it all up, how has it been? I guess it's still very, very new, but it is still fun to like set aside Tuesdays to like do this recording, and then like
the aspiration
you're
is still
passionate
there.
about- yeah.
And that leads me to the biggest point, which is for all this is from us to you, is that we really want you to give us comments personally or through the box. And also to just share with some of your friends, right? Ultimately, share with a friend who you think is going to be interested in what we're talking about. Don't force feed things to other people, right? It's not gonna be entertaining for them. It's not gonna be easy for us also.
Yep.
And we want to find more people who enjoy what we talk about.
And if you are someone who would like to join our conversations, I mean,
please let us know.
Yeah.
We currently only have 2 mics, but we are just honestly we're holding off our gear acquisition syndrome.
Yeah.
We have
not gotten gassy yet. Yeah.
We got so many things we want to buy, but we just don't buy it.
Yeah.
We're
And
just
10
trying
is
to-
on the horizon, so it's like
but we're just trying not to spend money on things because we are not flush with cash lah. We have things to feed. Like,
Although the one of the first few feedback that I got was that are we sponsored by Coca-Cola, but we are not lah.
No. We are not sponsored by Coca-Cola. I am not sponsored by Coca-Cola.
It's more like we sponsor
We
Coca-Cola.
sponsor Coca-Cola. We spend too much of our money and our lifetime spent on Coca-Cola. So yeah, it's just an incidental thing that is on the table.
Yeah. But if Coca-Cola Singapore would like to sponsor this show, we are always open.
You know what's the funny thing? One of our ex-schoolmates works for marketing at Coca-Cola. Yeah.
So if you are seeing this,
yeah. So Mr. Chua, if you're seeing this, right, I don't mind a free drink or two. Even as an Olympic volunteer, right, I was still restricted to one bottle of Coke a day, which is ridiculous. Because come on, it's not that expensive to produce.
Yeah. So
please just do us a favor, right? Share it with somebody, right? Or if you really have nobody to share it with, share it with us. Let us know what you think. And if you have people that, if you know someone who's interesting, want to talk to us and all that, or you want to talk to us, then at least we got an excuse to buy another mic.
Maybe two more sounds good.
Yeah. So we got excuse to buy things also. Rather than just wonder whether we need the expansion or not. Yeah. So thanks very much for your time with us. And we'll talk to you again soon.
And we'll see you on the next act.
Next act.